Alright, so we're on part 3 now. You have to forgive the rambling and my voice and all the sniffing or whatever else because I've been sick for a couple of days here now. So um, you have to forgive that. And I had to clear the scene. I ran into some technical issues. I had to restart Studio. I'm gonna load the FL1 that we're working on. And we technically just finished working on it. And then we saved it out. However, I didn't actually save it out then because I had a later saved version which sets that to 8. I'm not going to tell you why because we'll get to that later. But we are going to set it back to 0 and then pretend like you never saw it. Now we can finally start to pull some of this stuff together because we got one leg and one leg. The whole thing's done. This one leg is completely finished. Now, like that, if we bring in the frame here, it's in perspective view. If we bring in the frame, you can see I've got spots here. If I put another foot or another leg in each of those spots, I've got 7 more legs to make. I really don't want to have to re-rig and rehook up all these dials and all that stuff again. So we're going to take a shortcut. I'm going to switch over to the top view here so that I can see straight down on it. And I'm going to come over here and make sure I got the leg selected. I'm going to put my general so I can see the dials here. And I'm going to translate. It's currently FL1. I'm going to make it FL2 because that's front left and 2 is the outside, 1's the inside. So that's going to be, was it front right 1? That'll be front right 2. That'll be back right 2. That'll be back right 1, etc. But I'm just going to position that one there in place because I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes. I'm just going to eyeball it like that. Exactly where I want it. Now I'm going to hide the walker and export this as an OBJ. Right there, export. And I'm going to name it what it's going to be. It's going to be FL2. And I'm going to do that because I did it before. I didn't delete that file. I'm just going to select it and save out. All those are the defaults. And now I'm going to go, and before I forget, I'm going to copy that value right there. I'm going to hit Control C. Just copy that value there. Oops. And then I'm going to clear it out just because. I'm going to try to clear it out. There's Alt. There's click. Okay, it's cleared out. All right. So I've put this back where it's supposed to be. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to update the geometry. It's not where it's supposed to be if I go like that. You can see it's where FL1 is, but I'm going to make it FL2. To make it FL2, I'm going to update the geometry by going Scene tab and then Edit, Geometry, Update Base Geometry. I'm just going to do the vertex positions, and I'm going to do the OBJ that I just exported out, which is FL2, because that's the leg it's going to be. And you can see that moves the geometry down in the spot. Doesn't move the rigging. That's a problem, of course, because I want the rigging to be with the leg. At this point, one way to do it, the probably more common way to do it in other situations would be to go and adjust rigging to shape. It's not the best way to do it in this situation though because it's mechanical, everything's straight, and adjust rigging to shape, not quite perfectly exact and all that. Better way to do it. However, in order to do it that way, we have to save this out because we're going to have to clear the scene to flush the cache, otherwise it'll load into it, the same thing. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and save this out. Trust me, you have to. Figure prop asset, so we get all new files, and we're going to name this. I'm just going to select that so I don't have to type everything. It's going to be front leg 2. And I'm going to change this so that I get new backend files and don't overwrite front leg 1's backend files. So now the files are in the right spot. Everything's still named wrong, but the files are in the right spot. That's okay. I'm going to clear the scene because we need to flush out the cache, and now I can reload that. And I got to find there's front leg 2. That's the one I'm making, and the one I'm making it from. I want those two. And you can because I saved that from a later one. It also wants to load in parented and fit too. So I got to undo that, and I got to go find that. There, and change that back to 0. Alright. So you can see this one here, its rigging is in the right place for it. This one's rigging is in the wrong place for it. I'm going to take this one here and I'm going to translate it. Go there. I'm going to translate it into the value that I had copied earlier. So I put it back where it was when I exported the geometry. And now I'm going to adjust the rigging, or transfer the rigging. And the way that works, you select the source. So I want the rigging from here, and then you control select the target. So I want the rigging from that one there that I had selected first. used as the target for that rigging. And we do that over here under the scene tab. We just go edit, and then it's under rigging, and it's here at the bottom, transfer rigging and figure space. Figure space means that wherever it is now, not its defaults and all that stuff, but wherever it is now. We've moved it to where we want the rigging to be, so it's going to work. There you go. If we take and we get rid of that one now, here's the one we're making. Even though it's still named FL1, we haven't renamed it yet. But trust me, that's really FL2. It's in the right spot. If we load the rigging, or if we load the frame back in, you can see that's in our FL2 spot. We're going to go and we're going to clean up the naming now. And one way to do that, probably the more correct way to do that, would be to go in and rename everything, change all those to 2. And do that for every bone. Go into the morphs, do it for every morph. And again, you'd have to hit both the name and the label. Come over to the surface groups, or the face groups rather. Change all the face groups. That takes a long time, and we're not going to do it that way. What we are going to do is we're going to resave this out as a figure prop asset again, so we get all new files, because we changed the rigging, which is in the DSF back in the back end. So we're just going to go ahead and save out a figure prop. FL2 is what it's going to be, so we'll save it over that. FL2, that's not changing. Alright, and this is where things get weird. I'm going to come over here, this is a text editor, and this is the folders. I'm going to find that DUF file. There's FL2, that's the one I need to rename everything on. And I'm going to come over here, this is the data files. I'm going to find FL2, and that's the data files for FL2. You can see there it's FL1. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fix that. And by fix, what I mean is I just broke it. It's very important to understand when you change that, you've broken everything. So I'm going to take it, I'm going to drag it over here into the text editor, and in this case I don't actually need the UV sets, but I always grab the UV set just in case. Any file that references these, you have to do it early, because if you got material presets, stuff like that, things go wonky real fast. But every file, and again I'm going to rename these files with the 2, and again doing that breaks everything, so don't do it. And then once you're done doing it, drag them over into the text editor. So I've got every single file that references what will be FL2. Here you can see there's my key. I didn't hunt it down, but it's the same key. Every file, everywhere it references any name, any ID, anything specific, it's got that FL1 right now. Should be FL2. So I'm going to do a search and replace. I'm just going to go FL1, change it to FL2. And we're going to go replace all, and it's going to do 301 replacements. Close all that. You can see that's the UV didn't change, but again, better safe than sorry. Save all the documents, close all the documents, come back over here, and then this is the important part. Clear your scene to flush out the cache and all that stuff. So step back into perspective view because you can see what's going on. Go back to your library and reload FL2 and make sure it all works. So it loads in. Load in the frame to make sure it's in the right spot. It's in the right spot. Spin this drive channel to make sure everything still works. Everything still works. You see how it's now FL2. And so there we've made our second leg. Do that 6 more times, you're done. It's a lot easier than having to re-rig everything. I will tell you one caveat. Caveat. Here's the catch. Now, as it turns out, because the center is, you can see it better from the top, because the way the center lines up exactly in the middle of everything right there, if you take that and you rotate that just 180, it lines it perfectly back up with the opposite backside, which I thought was brilliant. It was going to save me a lot of time from having to remember copy paste the value, because I can remember 180 and just type that back in. Catch is when you flip it around, you do the adjust rigging to shape, all the bones basically are now facing the other direction, which means all the rotation values are backwards. Doesn't mean it runs backwards, it means it runs wrong. So what I had to do is I had to rebuild the animation and then rebuild the step dial, the one that actually, the key DRC, the key to dial step. I had to rebuild that for the back sides, and so I did one. And I didn't have to rebuild the animation. I made a copy of the animation file, opened it up in a text editor, and then I went through and manually flipped the sign on all the rotation values. and then reapplied that, and then checked it, and then went back to the text editor and got the 2 values I had missed the first time, and then rebuilt the key DRC dial and hooked up the stuff that was broke when I deleted it so I could build a new one. And then I did the same thing there where I just detranslated it into the new spot. So getting the backside, I did have to kind of take a step back to where I started the videos. I think is about where it lined up, and go forward from there. And because I'm sick, I'm rambling a lot. These videos are going a lot longer, and I was hoping they'd do it in 3, but I'm going to push it to 4 because the next step, the next bit, the bit after that, gets really interesting. But I'm going to go ahead and pause it here, or stop it here, whichever way you want to look at. And we're going to come back, and I'm going to show you pull it all together because I actually have all the legs set up and ready to go. And so we'll do that here in a moment.